Peace, 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 and welcome to the Origins of Om podcast. I'm your host, Om Maya, and I am so excited about season 2 as we kick it off with my girl, my best friend, Josie Smith, who is also going to be my co-host for the season. We have some really wonderful unfolding topics that we want to share with the listeners and get more people involved in understanding the dynamics of life and friendship and family and truth. Let's get into it. Hey, Josie.
Hello. Can you?
Yes, I can.
Cool.
Let me just start by saying that I'm super excited about what God has planned for us. You know, I feel like we have a lot to share. I feel like you have a lot to share. You know, you've experienced life in so many ways that it's interesting watching your journey. I always wondered, like, oh gosh, how's this going to turn out? You know, how is this going to turn out for me? How's this going to look for her? And because you're like my sister, you know, my real sister.
Yeah.
And we've known each other for, 30 plus years, which is crazy because I've been saying 25 for the last 5 years. And it's like,
Yeah, girl, you know.
I was doing that calculation the other day. I was like, ooh, we almost there. We almost there.
Right. What a journey.
What a journey. So, I wanted you to just share a little bit about, who you are, or what you have become thus far over the years. What would you consider your avatar at this moment, this present moment in life?
Mm-hmm. What would I consider my avatar this present moment in life? My avatar would be healer, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Just clear out without the fluff and just healer. I mean, I fight that a lot. I mean, it's always been there, but just the capacity of like, damn, I've come into this lifetime, this reincarnation, if you believe in that, to do this type of work and be so connected to people and to feel other people's energy and almost feel the neediness of the work that the service that I'm here to assist with or channel through. So yeah, I mean, I think I've actually just fully taken it on this year, which is crazy. Like I could just say that without a doubt, 100%. Like I am a healer. I know that. In the past, it was just like, but are you really? How? Because in my mind, it's just like it has to look a certain way, or this is the capacity and how I serve. And now it's just like shit that may look like me actually saying something to somebody, me touching somebody. It's just how God wants to express itself through me. So yeah, did that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's something that you were forced to become, or something that you've always been since you were a little girl?
Definitely not forced. I feel like it was something that we can say the enemy, right?
Yeah.
Wanted to keep me from. And I see that because I've always. So if we go back into Josie growing up in the program, it was like literally Josie wanting to be this boss bitch, excuse my language, of like, I want my money, I want my company, I want my businesses. That's it. I don't know where the man, the kids, all of that. Like I did not really see it. Right. I didn't see it. And we've been friends since we were 7? And
Yeah.
that's something that I said at 7. Like,
Yeah.
you know that.
Playing Barbies outside.
Right. That's always been my conversation. And I've always been a dreamer and I could always feel things. Like I can remember being very young and I can walk into a space or a house and I would just feel like this energy of like this push of like get out. And I would tell my mommy, I'm like, ooh, I don't even remember what I would say as a kid, but I can just remember being like, ooh, we need to get out of here. I could just feel the energy in certain spaces. Um, I would dream and it would be so vivid and so scary, and I grew up Catholic. So I would literally pray. I would sleep with my rosary under my pillow and I would pray and I would say, God, I don't want to dream and I don't want to see those things. And you have to be
Wow.
careful for the contracts that you create. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And it has created this confusion and my journey, because it created this lack of trust of what I see, what I feel, because it's just like, oh, I don't want, I'm literally saying to spirit, like, I don't want that. Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, she this just not what she wants. You know what I mean? But it's almost now where it's just like, oh, bitch, you don't have a choice. Like, this is what you came to do. So this is what we're doing. So fully just embodying that and honestly having to go back and just be like, remember when I said I don't want to see? Like, okay, I'm ready to see. I'm ready to see those things. I'm tired of being confused, like to fully embody it and just trust in that and in some kind of way be of service with those gifts. So to answer your question, I feel like my journey to this point has been to have the spirit of confusion to where I'm not tapped into embodying purpose of healer. It's in my natal chart very strong, of what the work I came to do in this lifetime. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
I think it's funny when you mentioned having the rosary under your pillow, because I remember vaguely when my parents went out of town and you came to spend the night in my house.
Oh, I think I probably would bring my rosary to everybody's house because I
You
don't know
did.
what kind of energies is in this house. Oh, that's
You said,
crazy.
you
That's
told me
nuts.
you said every friend's house that you spent the night at had a freaking spirit in that house.
Girl, shut up. I don't remember
Yes.
that.
Yes. You were telling
Dang.
me, you was like, I was like, what are you doing with all this stuff? And you was like, because every time I go to my friend's house, you was like, I always see something. Like, I'll always see something like in a
Wow.
corner or something somewhere. So I was like, okay, well, you're not going to see nothing here. And you was like, well, I don't know. I just want to be safe. And so
Wow.
I
Mm,
remember that. And you slept just fine. You didn't have
yeah.
any episode that you shared with me at the time. And but it's just so funny.
You know what I just caught like a glimpse of, and
What's that?
it just came back to me, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can trust that, which is so strange, God. Um, I can remember, okay, because I don't remember a lot of stuff about like childhood like that.
Yeah.
But as you're speaking about that, it's bringing up a memory, and it's something about the fireplace right there, because y'all had that fireplace right in the middle of the living room, and it
Right.
was like a dense energy right there.
Mm.
So I don't know, like maybe I don't that
You want no, you're not wrong.
okay,
You want to
because
hear
that
something crazy? Oh, go
what?
ahead.
Oh my god, because that vision literally just popped into my head. It wasn't like, no, you wasn't off. That shit's crazy. Go ahead, tell me. Or am I not
Well,
wrong?
so what's wild about that? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so my brother Kevin, my stepbrother Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
may he rest in us. Transition, I want to say is like 97,
Mm-hmm.
1997, and he used to stop by periodically. He would come and maybe grab some food up, grab some change if he saw it on the counter, whatever. You know how
Right.
it is a family. And also um my stepfather's late wife transition as well. So
Mhm.
that energy still resides in that home, right?
Did they live in
Um
that home?
they did live in that home. Uh-huh.
Wow.
They
Okay.
actually built that home together.
Wow.
And remember,
Okay.
that house was the first house on that block, on that street. So you were across the way, 5 houses down from me.
Right.
Um, right there next to our neighbor Sharon's house. That was the very first home that was built on that street, and
Mm.
his wife built that home,
Mm.
structure and all.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we moved in there, I remember it felt you know, like it was this calming presence, you know. I knew
Mhm.
that we would be there for a while. I didn't
Mhm.
know it was going to be forever, and that was great because I learned so much being in that home, right? But
Mhm.
fast forwarding to a moment where me and my children were staying there. My mom was out of town, and it was just me and my stepdad with the children,
Mhm.
and I was asleep. Okay,
Mhm.
they had put this picture up there by the fireplace. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
and one night, out of nowhere, that picture falls
Wow. Okay.
and wakes everybody, you know, everybody in the house up. We all just kind of was startled.
Mhm.
No one touched that picture. That picture was securely up there. So whatever happened, whatever was going on, that kind of freaked us out.
What was the picture of?
It was just a art picture, like, you know, some let's say like a those melanated art pictures that, you know, you see everywhere. It was a really, I can't remember
Common one.
this, huh?
Common, like that you've probably seen it. Because it's certain art pieces that a lot of black people, you would.
Yeah,
Okay, was it something like that?
yeah. It was like a lover's picture or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't have the perfect memory of that. I just remember it was up there and it fell down. So it's funny that you mentioned that that energy that was right there by that fireplace.
Insane. And who
Wow.
bought the photo? Who bought that? Do you know?
My mom did a lot of that. My mom would go to
Okay.
these starving artists events, and that would
Okay.
happen like twice a month, twice a
Mhm.
year. I'm sorry. So it'd be like January and in July, and she would go and like purchase all these, you know, pictures with beautiful frames, and then come back, put them up somewhere, or, you know, we kind of, you know, put them up here and there during the seasons and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But she wasn't there at that time when that happened. And I just
Mhm.
thought it was very random, you know. I didn't really
Yeah.
go freaking myself out like, oh, it's a spirit, you know, but
Yeah.
because we are spirit. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that was interesting that you
That's
saw that. And was that when you came to spend the night that time, or just when you were just coming visiting?
I don't know. I just literally you were talking about when I came to spend the night. I don't even remember spending the night at your house. Honestly, crazy. Like you just mentioning that, it brought that memory to it brought that I saw the vision. I saw like it was spirit gave me that it was like I saw a fireplace and I saw like just like a shadow. And I was like,
Mm,
that must have been what I picked up. The body remembers all of that. So it's just recollecting the data. So I don't
hmm.
I don't remember if I saw anything. It was more so I felt it because I stopped kind of seeing certain things, but I would feel. So I probably felt it.
What made you like what encounter made you freak out to where you just didn't want to see anything ever again when it came to the spiritual realm?
Um I I don't recall my earliest and being on this podcast is probably go recall it back to my memory. I have
Right.
one that I remember very clearly, but I wasn't very young. I was in high school. I believe that it started in my dreams, and my dreams were so frightening. I don't know if I actually probably saw things. I probably did see things. I just don't remember what I saw. I could have blocked it so much out of my memory because it was so traumatic that I'm not even able to access it right now. But I
Hmm.
know it had to start really early because I remember. And then that was before we were in high school. So it definitely happened pretty early. But I do remember the one where I was like, fuck this. I was at a friend's house. We
Hmm.
were in high school and we were getting every year, her family would go to Louisiana and it's something about the state of Louisiana.
Mm.
Something
Yeah.
about the state of Louisiana. I mean, it's specifically southern Louisiana.
Yeah.
Um, and they would go to Breaux Bridge, Louisiana every year. I think it was a crawfish festival. Well, the first year I went with them, that was the first time I'd ever really heard women speak about putting voodoo on somebody, as far as like, putting it in the man's food. And it's very
Mm-hmm.
disrespectful to not eat food that's being served to you. And I was very funny about food, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was always funny. My mama would be like, if somebody brought some food from outside into the house and we don't eat it. And now energetically, and now just knowing certain things, I'm not eating everybody's food. I'm not.
No.
The energy that's put into it. So I didn't eat everybody's food, and I was already a picky eater. So I remember somebody offered me some food, and I was like, no. And I kind of got these looks. And then I think my friend was like, that could be seen as disrespectful. So I remember that encounter. And I just remember the women talking about, putting things on men and just more of like that hoodoo type energy.
Yeah.
And I may not be getting it right, so I'm no disrespect if this is actually voodoo or hoodoo. I don't know. I know there's a difference, but I think it is voodoo because I believe voodoo is more of the dark energy. And I think hoodoo was more of like African spiritual kind of religion, and I don't know. So listeners, please, y'all can comment and be like, she got the shit wrong. Sorry, no disrespect.
It's all to me one and the same.
Right,
So
right, right. So
it's
I'm
really about intention.
with intention, exactly. So I don't want to disrespect anybody's beliefs because
Practice.
people still, they still practice voodoo. So, but it was used in a dark energy of actually like trying to coerce someone into things outside of their will. And
Yeah.
I was just like, that's fucked up. And then I got bit by something. My ankle swelled up so huge, like it looked like I had like a baseball sized bite or something on
Was
my.
it a spider?
I don't know. I mean, I thought it was. I really thought it
Mm-hmm.
was a spider bite because it was so strange. So I got bit by a spider. I got looked at crazy because I didn't want to eat the goddamn food. Then, like, I was hearing them talk about putting stuff on men, and it was just like, this shit is eerie. Like, I just saw this, like, in movies and just heard that. My family.
I told my husband, I said, listen, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Like, not all, but that's a
Hmm.
thing,
It's a
and they
thing.
laugh about it like it's,
Right.
natural.
Right. And it's just like that was like, this is crazy. Like people actually do that shit. It's like you
Hmm.
hear it as like a folk tale, but no, people operate like that. So I just remember being like, shit is crazy. That was the first year. And do you know my dumb ass signed up again to go the second year? So the night,
You with the thrill,
yeah,
of it.
because I'm fucking nosy. That's why. Because I'm just like,
Yeah,
as an
man.
adult, I'm like, Josie, why the fuck would you even decide to go back a second year?
Out of
So
curiosity.
yes. So the night before the trip, I'm at my friend's house and we're sleeping in her bedroom.
Hmm.
And I'm awakened by this man silhouette, like this energy, this entity, whatever the fuck,
Hmm.
at the end of the bed, and it was just there, girl. And I felt the energy on my body, like kind of holding me down. I don't know. I wish my mama was still alive because I want
Mm.
to know what I called her and said. All I know is that came and picked me up and I was just like, I can't go. I don't even remember what I said to my friend's family because it sounds so crazy to say, hey, bitch, there was something in your room and I gotta get out of here. Like the Holy Spirit is telling me like I should not go. Um
Mm.
and for a long time, and you know what? I just realized because for a long time I saw that energy as something evil, as something dark, like maybe
Hmm.
it was something in the house.
Yeah.
And that encounter scared me so much that I'm just like, I'm literally like, if it's very difficult for me to fall asleep anywhere because I'm always like, I don't know what energy is left in this room. And
Hmm.
this is carried with me for years. So the other day, I was just thinking, I said, God offered me, was like, what if that entity or energy was not evil? What if that was an ancestor that was like, you don't need to be there. Like, get out. And it just showed up as like, I'm gonna frighten the shit out of her to get her out of here. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Yeah.
that actually empowered me a little bit more than to see it for so many years as like this evil thing in this house. And just, it was scary, it was spooky. But what if
Yeah.
it was just like somebody, like a spirit just saying, hey, this is not, you need to get out of here. You don't need to go down there. You've already, last year you saw what happened. You
Yeah.
keep intertwining yourself with these energies and entities. You go bring back something that you don't know how to take off of your ass.
Mm.
So now that's a little bit more empowering for me to see it that way. But that incident freaked me the fuck out. Like, that one was just like, ooh, yeah, nope.
And you know what's wild is like I have family from Shreveport, and when I went as an adult for the first time, I went to New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
and the intention was to stay there for a night and
Mm-hmm.
leave. But something about being in New Orleans, like, you don't want to leave. It's this energy of like, I want to stay, and just kind of, and being that we are inquisitive,
Mm-hmm.
and learning not to be so nosy and curious, like, okay, look, let some things be where they're at. Stop trying to go scope it out and see if you tripping, or if you really
Right.
see it.
Right.
I remember being there, it was like I had returned.
Oh, interesting.
Hmm. And
Oh.
let me tell you something wild that happened. I
Mm-hmm.
was walking, me and Amari, we were walking down this strip in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
and there was this girl walking by. She had this pink hair, pink braids in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I see her and I'm like, okay, she's, she exuded this energy of like, and I could see people, I could see, like, you could see energy, like spirits. I
Mm-hmm.
see the energy. I could see the vortex. I could see within the person. I can
Mm-hmm.
pull that vibe in, that frequency,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, something's off, or something's, in alignment, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was weird because every store we would go into and leave out, she was there.
Hmm.
And I didn't catch that from a lot of other people. It
Mm-hmm.
was specifically this woman. So this is, I kid you not, and I had to check myself because I was like, you can't make this up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm walking. I want to say I was on Amari's left side walking, right?
Mm-hmm.
She walks by me coming from the opposite direction. Like, the minute we left out of this other store, she's coming out of another store in front of us and walks past me to my left. The minute she walked past me, I had this sharp pain in my freaking index finger on my left hand.
Wow. Okay.
And I remember going, oh, what the heck? What the heck? What the heck? And
Mm-hmm.
it felt like something had pricked my finger, and
Mm-hmm.
it shot through my left side of my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of like holding it because, I'm already tuned in. I'm a healer. I can do this. I can, whatever's going on in my body, I
Mm-hmm.
know how to energetically remove that in my consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, it was like fighting me. So
Mm-hmm.
something was like, tell your beloved to squeeze your finger,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a healer as well. The minute
Mm-hmm.
I met him, I was like, that's a magician. He's a healer. So, but he doesn't, use it a lot, right?
Yeah.
So he grabbed my finger and had to squeeze it really, 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 really tight till it was red.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute he released it, it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hadn't mentioned the girl at all to him the whole time. I had seen this girl like 3 or 4 times within, I want to say, like 30 minutes of us moving around, each block looking. We were looking for some voodoo cards that we actually ended up purchasing through Amazon later. But it was like the original voodoo cards that we wanted, and we couldn't find them. So when or tarot deck, my bad, not voodoo, but tarot deck cards.
I was wondering. I'm like, okay, go ahead.
No, tarot deck card, but it's the same thing, because you're talking about the practice of hoodoo,
Yeah.
and so I told him, I said, babe, there was this girl, I said, did you see the girl with the pink hair? Then he was like, no. And I'm like, okay, there was the girl with the pink hair. I mean, she was right there and she kept moving around and, this, that, and the third. And I'm telling him, he's like, he's more observant than me. He's the eagle eye, he's a Scorpio. So he can observe his atmosphere like it's nothing. But for whatever reason, she was moving in the shadows. You hear me?
Yeah.
And I just remember after that, it was this voice that was like, there's some unfinished work here. And I said, so what I did, instead of making it a big theatrical experience for me, right? I made peace with the atmosphere.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was like whatever has occurred in the past and whatever needs to be dealt with here, now, in the future, in this moment time, I'm making peace with whatever it is right here, right now. I am the mother and I created this and I'm choosing to see this in the beauty that it is. And so I even channeled that girl and just gave her a hug in my mind. Ooh. Like, I didn't even know what it was or what was going on. I knew she was fucking with me, though. I was like, she's fucking with me. She keep popping up. Like, something's going on. And, I was just like, you can't make that up. It could sound really insane to somebody that's not in tune. But for the listeners, I know y'all know. Like, this stuff is real.
Yeah.
Even to where you said that and I'm glad that you shared these things with me when we were little and growing up, because I always saw you as somebody that had premonitions. Like, you would have these visions ahead of time and then you would tell me something and that shit would happen.
I have no memory of that.
Oh my, see? And that's because when we shone away from our gifts as children.
Yes. Something so pure, something so knowing.
So innocent.
Yeah.
Like, even I have to teach my daughter, like, you see shadows. Are they, what type of feeling? Because see, that's the thing that a lot of people don't really, they tap into the emotional aspect of themselves, but the feeling, right, always gets disregarded.
Right.
And it's like, well, if it didn't make you feel like uncomfortable, like as if it was harming you, or anything like that, then why not look at it a little deeper and see what that is? Because these shadows are reflections of you anyway. They're just you manifested in a form, in a dark form or a light form or a blue light or something like that, right?
Right.
So I remember you having what I would call premonitions. And again, when we're young like that, just like when we were little girls playing dolls and you wanted to be this rich woman and I always wanted to be just married with children. And then seeing how life has manifested as such. What's crazy is when you're not specific about the thing you want, though. And how it comes in this chaos. Because you're not intentfully being specific. So if I say I wanted a husband and children, that, like, what type of husband? You know what I mean? Because the husband you had struggled with forgiveness and lacked self-awareness. So what type of family, what type of life are you looking for? And it wasn't until my adulthood that I started becoming more intentful, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, wow.
That's good. You said something that I wanted to ask about and I lost it, but it's okay. It'll come back. But yeah, that's so interesting that, and I always tell people, like, go back to the memory of how you were as a kid. What were you interested in? Like, what did you navigate to? What, like, what were you saying? What did you, like, because that gives you so many clues to, like, why you're here, because it was
Yeah.
so close to the beginning. You know what we know, our
Mm-hmm.
kids know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just sad. It's kind of sad now that I think about it, like all these years of programming to where it's just like you cut yourself off from source in a way because of,
Mm.
certain programs. So anybody out there listening, don't do that. Or if you have children, don't do that either. Like,
Real.
you
Don't raise
know,
your children like I don't raise my children like, oh, you just had a nightmare, you're tripping, go to bed.
yeah. Like
Or
to
you're
really
making
explore
it
that.
up.
Oh, that's okay. It came back to me. Yes,
Good.
that's so important that you say, well, how did that make you feel? Like, what did
Mm-hmm.
that energy make you feel like? And that was important, like the story that I mentioned about being at the friend's house and I saw that energy. The
Mm-hmm.
energy was like, get out, get the fuck out, and it beckoned that. And I
Mm.
remember a couple of years ago when I moved to Denver and my spiritual gifts just got even more heightened. And I used to feel like this calming presence on my spine. And I'm like, something is around me, but it's warm, it's loving, it's gentle. And I was able
Mm.
to identify it. I'm like, this is a warm, gentle energy. And it came out that it was my grandmother's energy. And she was telling me, like, I would be like, because I'll feel the energy and I'm like, who are you? And I remember we were driving one day and like the first street I saw was Smith. And I was like, okay, family member. And I kid you the fuck not. The next street we saw was Josephine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was very clear and like, but my grandma's personality was very much like that straight shooter. Like, guessing, go tell you straight up. And I had a friend who was a medium, and because I knew, I'm like, okay, I feel like grandma's kind of telling me like who she is, but maybe I can't trust what I see. Ain't that something? So
Yeah.
I go to a medium. My friend that's a medium, and she's tapping into the energy, and she's so when people like with mediums, also anybody out there seeking like to go to like a psychic or a medium, the way the information is sometimes delivered, it's in pieces and it will only be for you to identify it. So they may ask you a question, only you will know that answer. It's just trying to test, like the spirit is going to come through and give you clues to who I am. So you would be able to identify what that spirit is, if I'm
Yeah.
making sense.
Yeah.
So when the lady was trying to identify what spirit was around me, what energy was around me, my grandmother she was like, it's definitely warm, but definitely kind. And she said, for some reason, I hear name, like your name is Joe. Like, she was like, what's your middle name? And I was like, cause she knew my first name. She's like, what's your middle name? And I told her, and she was like, she's telling me name. And I was like, oh, got it. Josephine, Josie. I'm named after my grandmother. So that was her way to
Mm.
confirm her presence, because I would know name if she said name, because we have the same name. I'm named after her. So yeah,
Do
that's
you
really good.
that's on your dad's side, right?
It's on my daddy's side. Yeah.
Do you know where they're from? Or well, as far as the family,
It,
um
it is so crazy that you said this, all of this going so in line. So I definitely feel I've traveled with my dad's family a lot. We've done lifetimes. We've done a lot
mhm.
of lifetimes together. And the other day, so my Texas originally, and my grandmother was this little bitty red looking woman. I mean, red as in like her skin was dark, but it was very red. So she
Mhm.
looked like an Indian. And now I have her home. So we're rehabbing her home, and she has this
Wow.
in the front yard. It's like this museum of like artifacts. I don't know. It's like a garden
All
of
the
like,
statues, right?
yes,
I
bitch.
remember that. Yeah,
Yes,
I remember that.
yes. So I was sitting in the car the other day and I'm just looking at all of these art pieces and I'm like, Grandma, what the hell is all? What were you thinking, girl? It's like, it looks like the epitome of like witchcraft if you look at it. And it's like baby doll heads with chains and shit. Like, flowers with eyeballs in the middle. Like, it's insane. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And what kept coming to my, like, what I saw, and I'm just like, I wonder about this, because this is definitely being reconfirmed for me several times. She has these Indian chiefs. It's like 3 of them in the little antique museum. I don't even know what this would be. It's almost like her shrine. But she has Indian chiefs in there. It's 2 of them, and she had them in the house. And I always felt like we were native people. Like, and that you say that, it's just, and the vision that just came to me was that chief. So I definitely believe that my grandmother's side are native indigenous people. They were already here. Yeah.
Like, she knew the origins of that family dynamic before it was corrupted. Because, not to cut you off, but even when you mentioned to me the difference between your mom's your mom's mom and your dad's mom, your Josephine was always into the family estate.
Yes.
And order. And like, she knew the law, she knew the words, she knew, so when you mentioned those artifacts in the front yard, that's actually something that when I was in the Yellow House and we were going through that cusp period, during the ascension period, we were all kind of going through death and life and all that. I had reconnected with all of my ancestors and all of my so-called demons that I was, I had dreams of, or I was afraid of, didn't know who they were and didn't identify with. I had actually placed them in front of my yard to protect the home. To protect the home from a lot of the illegal corruption that was going on in Florida at the time. So it's interesting that you say that. This is really good, Josie. Like, I'm really enjoying this because it explains so much, like, our connection. How even before mom, transitioned, may she rest in us, was man, we found out we were actually related, that we were actually cousins. I mean, the shirt freaked me out when it said Coleman's. I was like, huh?
Right.
What's happening? And then I was like, wait. And I started asking your aunt questions, and she was like, yeah, we got family in Louisiana, and we this, that. And I was like, oh my gosh. It made so much sense.
Right.
So back to the property and grandma's. Yeah. So go back to that.
Her shrine.
Yeah, her shrine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Is that what came to mind?
Yeah, because I don't know what to call it, and it was like her prize, like that. It was something that she really, even in her obituary, I read it the other day, and they featured that, like, she was a gardener, and also she had I forgot what they called it. It was in the Houston Chronicle about that artifacts. I don't even know. It's just like a a museum of maybe her collective thoughts into art. I don't know, but she really that was really special to her. Like, that was her work, and that was her creation. And to go look at it and just see all of the things that she put into this shed, it's just like, Grandma, what does this mean to you? Like, what were you thinking?
Are you gonna keep it, or are you planning on removing them? Yeah.
I don't know. I may need to.
That's that moment in life.
Yeah, tap in.
Right now, what I'm pulling in is like, you need to tap into her more. You got to understand her. Like, that woman, even though I usually can read people just off of a picture, and the power and influence she has on the family, period. Even people that you encounter, where you get this vibe automatically, like, you either sync or you don't sync. You either link or you don't link together. Right. And she knew things that she's willing to share with you. But you have to approach her without judgment. And that's the the moment we're in right now in life is avoiding the condemnation behind judgment. Judgment is not a bad thing, right?
Mhm.
But it's how we use it. And a lot of times, just like manipulating is not a bad thing. It's just how you use it, you know?
Right.
And with looking at all these different things, think about if your child, when your child comes into this world and looks at what you are, my children, they, you know, those are your God babies. So just
Mhm.
imagine them like, hey Josie, like, what is this? Like,
Right.
what is this thing you're holding on to? It's weird looking, you know, and then you're like, this meant something to you. And her consciousness is in those artifacts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
each artifact, you put your hand on it and you channel into it. And you ask the question that you want to know, what was the intention behind this artifact? And I guarantee you, you're going to get the answers you need.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. And I definitely will tap in that to, honor her in that way because it was something she definitely loved and,
And,
admired.
and think about it, like it probably kept certain people off her land that wanted
Mhm.
to, you know, I'm pretty sure they tried to gentrify that area.
Oh, they're doing it right now.
See? And
Mhm.
what's beautiful, right, is your father's mother stayed how many houses down from your mom's mom?
Okay, you got it confused. Oh, maybe you didn't. So, yes, my father's mom, they lived right down the street, but here's the story.
Mm.
All of that was my grandma's properties. So my grandmother gave
Wow.
my dad and my mom that house as a gift when they got married. That was my dad's house. My
Your grandma's, the one that your mom's mom
Josephine,
stayed at.
no. Yes, right. So Josephine gave my mom and dad that property.
Mm.
Josephine owned that property, the property across the street, that's my aunt's, that she gave that to her oldest son as a gift for them. So she really owned the block, which
Wow.
is crazy. So yeah, so
Wow.
my dad, when my grandmother needed a home, my daddy was like, "Come stay," because my daddy was really close to his mother-in-law, which is my other grandmother. So my daddy was like, "Give her that house." That's why my other grandmother was in that house.
Wow.
Hmm.
So, man, you remember when, and I'm bringing this up again, remember when we did the numerology
Uh-huh.
and I was like, this is your year
Hmm.
for handling your family's estate
Hmm.
and tending to your family, period. And it's
Hmm.
interesting, we're at the end of the year right now.
Hmm.
I don't know if you remember all of what we talked about during that session for numerology, but look at what's happening right now. Like you're
Yeah, it's crazy.
wow. And it wow.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Ray, your uncle Ray, that ray
Hmm.
of light, had to leave the body
Uh-huh.
in order to create space and opportunity for you to have the land and the property. Man, just talk about that. Wow.
Yeah, it is it was so my grandmother came to me. Oh my goodness. I'm like, is anybody even gonna be interested in hearing about my family
Listen,
history?
yes, yes.
Okay, so when before my grandmother passed away, so I'm named after my grandmother. My grandmother is Josephine. I'm Josie.
Mhm,
I was not very close to my grandmother in life when she was
mhm,
alive, because of just kind of the way she was. But I understand her more in death, and she's with me more in death. And she loved me the best way she could, but
mhm,
we were not close. But at the end of her life, I was older and I made the decision like, my grandmother is not going to change, Josie. You have her name. And I started to see our elders is just like, I mean, these are walking history books. Like us as Black people, indigenous people, whatever you want to call us, you right? Like we've lost that, and the only the only books or the only knowledge we can get about ourselves is from our elders. So we really need to sit at their feet and who like
Hmm.
tell us these stories. Who was your mother? Who was your grandmother? Like to link all of this back because we've lost so much of our identity. So
Yeah.
I started to come into that awareness as I got older, but it was towards the end of her life, which I regret that I should have came into it a little sooner, but timing, it was perfect.
Timing is perfect.
Right. So before she passed away, she told me she was getting ready to go to the Golden Age program. Like she was just saying little stuff that it was just like, oh,
What?
yeah, she pulled out every
I just got
dress.
chills.
Oh yeah, that's spirit. She pulled out every dress out of her closet and she was like, I need to figure out what I'm gonna wear to the Golden Age program. Because they were giving like the elders at church program, and it's called the Golden Age program. And I don't even know if that was actually facts. I think she was getting ready to go up yonder, like she was getting ready
No,
to
she was
ascend.
speaking facts.
Yes. So, I mean, facts as in if a church here was actually having that program, I think that she was saying, I'm about to get ready to go to the
Yeah,
golden,
to the upper room.
Right,
Right.
right. And I was tapped into it. I was like, oh shit, grandma it's getting time. Cause she kept repeating it, like it was just like, oh, is she losing her damn mind? But it was like, no,
Wow.
spirit is a communication. Pay the fuck attention. So this is crazy. So anyway, it's just so crazy how God turns things around.
Mm.
So at her funeral, I felt, and I don't remember at this moment what she said, but there was a message that my grandmother said to me that day, and I wanted to deliver it to my family. And it was something about keep the family together. It was very, very important. And she worked really hard to keep family together and her estate. And I mean, who in the 20s and 30s my grandmother never had a job. She was a businesswoman. So it was just like she was like a Renaissance woman. Like nobody was really who was doing that, a black woman,
Man, come
you know.
on. Talk about
So
it.
she's like, he take care of my stuff, but I don't remember if what she said exactly. At her funeral, it comes time for reflections and people can speak about the person who has transitioned, and my Uncle Ray, the one that you said is a ray of sunshine,
Yeah,
he
red light.
he was the one that said we only have time for two people to talk. And then I was like, okay. So two people like rushed on a damn podium to speak about my grandmother. And I was like, surely my uncle is, I'm the third. He'll be okay. Surely he'll let me talk. And girl, I walked on that motherfucking stage. Do you know they kicked my ass off? Like,
What?
yeah, they were like, no, it's already been two people. And I was like, what you mean? Like, I'm her granddaughter. The fuck you? I am her namesake. I have her name. How dare they kicked me off the fucking stage? It was
Wow.
and Uncle Ray was the one, he did the funeral and everything. And he was like, come on, Josie, get down. And I looked at my daddy and he was like, come on, get down. And I was so mad at my daddy. Like, I was like, for real? Like,
Yikes.
why wouldn't you say something? And now I know that certain messages didn't need to be delivered. It wasn't for people to hear that at that
Mm-mm.
particular time. But it hurt me so bad. And I didn't fuck with Uncle Ray for years. I already stopped messing with him for other stuff that he did. But like that one really took the cake. I was like, how dare you not allow me to speak over my grandmother and say something that she wanted me to deliver to the family. And
Mm.
I was just like, wow. And then a couple of years later, I remember I was at a friend's house and I had a dream about my grandmother. And it was something like, it was like, take care of my stuff. Or she was telling me, hey, there's more there. Like, I have more. Like, pay attention.
Mm.
And I'm just like, what? And I went back to my daddy and I'm like, Daddy, go pay attention to grandma's stuff. Like, make sure Uncle Ray is not manipulated or taken or whatever it was years ago. But anyway,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to bring me back to this point that now that dream that I had about like take care of it is coming into fruition now. Like almost like you're that chosen one. And it like it's being prophesied to you years before, and you don't receive it until later. Am I making sense?
Beyond.
Like all
Yes.
those little nuggets, everything was purposeful, you know, getting kicked off the stage, or her saying, talking to me before she died, I'm getting ready for this, and what she spoke to me in that moment, and me thinking that it was for everybody. And it was like, no, no, that was just for you. And then the visions later
Mm.
to lead to this point of like, now it's in your hands. Like you're the only one that makes sure this shit stays together.
Becoming the private woman.
Mm-hmm.
I say that because when you operate either in the public or the private, and that's something that I haven't really dug in this podcast because I'm, baby steps. You need to know who you are first before you go into actually operating with, how to operate in the state,
Right.
because people think that it's just nothing, but what they don't realize is you live in a that they want to call it a simulator, but this is a corporation. United States is a corporation. It's not a country. America is. And so when you talk about business, a lot of these companies, like Donald Trump is a really good example of someone who understands how to operate in a trust.
Right.
And it's important that every household has a whole life insurance, a trust to protect their family from
Yep.
these corrupt corporations, or you're put in what they call a sister key trust, which is like a bucket trust. And these are
Right.
for what they call dead corporations, dead people,
Right.
people who still live off of color. I'm black, I'm white. My Christian name is, Kendra Coleman, and I'm going off of that character because I was told to be that. So I'm just living my life off of what somebody told me to do. And every time you talk about Josephine, all I could see is her, you know, she reminds me of me. And it's weird because I always thought, like, I don't do that. I don't really be doing all that. Oh yeah, that's me. Or we, your family is like mine, none of that. But
Right.
I've observed over the years just how connected you and I are. We've had so many lifetimes together that my
Mm-hmm.
beloved is a masculine, manifestation of my feminine best friend. That's like my sister.
Right.
And when I met him, he was into understanding, how to correct his status and
Right.
understanding his nationality and understanding the importance of building a trust and
Yeah.
having an estate plan for your family for
Mm-hmm.
generations to come. And so as a mother myself,
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to Josephine in the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I tell my children all the time the importance of understanding, finances and accounting and how to operate um, under corporations and just like it's this feeling, that's like, don't mess this up, man, because this is something that's going to hold our family together for years to come. Nothing can come in, no evil can seep in and corrupt our family, can
Right.
or corrupt our trust. And it's so important to educate, like going back to if you have your grandmother still and or grandfather, go and talk to them. I mean,
Yep.
regardless to, their demeanor or, how they communicate, if you
Mm-hmm.
come at them in love, it breaks that delusion that
Mm-hmm.
something is wrong or
Right.
that something is off between you two, um because it's just generations, that's all. Like look at the generation now. We don't really be into the music that they got going on.
Girl, no idea.
All this, these namesakes that everyone wants to take on now and these pronouns. I'm like, girl, that's beyond me. I ain't there no more. I don't know what y'all talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were coming up, these little details of life made sense. But we understand that there's really a numbing and dumbing down of the generation right now. We're talking, this whole mental illness thing that doesn't exist, but it's almost like No Child Left Behind. So we're not going to make you feel pressure. We're not going to make you feel this sense of discomfort and suffering in some form, because if we just make it all good and perfect and, you know, pat you on the back and, you know, give you some medicine, then you'll be okay. And so that feel good generation is what's causing the disharmony and imbalance, because if you can't experience suffering, if you can't experience discomfort, how would you know what peace is like?
Yeah, that's true.
How would you know what it feels like all this work that we're doing, even just in my family, you know, getting our paperwork together and making sure we have everything in order, and, you know, going back and clearing up all of the debt that we've created out of ignorance, like
Yeah.
all that hard work coming out of the cognitive dissonance, that delusion of thinking that we were this black person with this Christian name and all this, and then God giving that divine name out of nowhere, Omaya, and even you channeling into Josephine. That's the highest form in your family right now of purity, of honesty, of truth. Something that you would look up to and say, I want to mirror that in this body form, so that I can again bring that golden age back. That she was not talking crazy, because listen, when the age of Aquarius actually vibrated and manifested in 2020, I was like, it's my time to shine. It's my time. That's why I'm here.
It's the weirdos' time.
Let's go. It's the ones that people, the ones that people was looking at like, you off, like you an alien, like you weird. And it's like, no, I am the watchman that came back into this body to remind not only the self, but to remind others that we're in a realm, we're in a vibration that requires you to know who you are in the spirit. Not only to know who you are in the spirit, but to declare that by becoming the living word. So you need to study to understand who you are, so that you have the confidence to be able to do the work that you need to do to protect your lineage. Like, knowing that you are responsible for generations, 7 generations and up. But you don't hear that because you're so distracted by everything outside of you that you neglect to know that the outside realm is the Maya. The truth is inside of you. How you eat, how you process food, how your organs are operating. Are they in alignment? You know, are you cleansing your organs? Are you taking care of yourself? Like, every observation is a replication of your organs. If you look at the tree, that's the nervous system, right? The spine of the root, all that relates to brain, spine, nervous system. This is a temple. And the temple looks like the nature that you observe with the 2 lenses that you have. But if you were to lose those lenses, all you would have is the sense of internal truth of self, and observing what that looks like, and how you feel, and how you connect to everything off of energy.
Yeah.
So this is the time to tap into grandmother Josephine, who is now operating in the old golden age program. So she's helping, assisting in the program. There's a book, real quick, there's a book called The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. I recommend people, if you can get that book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. Is Talbot. I might be saying the last name wrong, but he talks about the brain as a hologram. He talks about being out of the mind and the placebo effect and the cosmos as a hologram. And so you start to perceive life outside outside of visual, you start to really get past all the sense stimulants, because the sense stimulants are what keeps you in the body. It keeps you cycling back through. If you're attached to your body, if you're attached to your emotions and you're attached to your senses and like everything's so beautiful, oh, I just want to be here forever. You neglect the mission that you came here to do. You know what I'm saying? Because mother just wants to keep you in her arms and feed you, her milk. But it's time to grow up out of that. It's time to come out of the mother's womb. Mm-hmm. It's time to become as God is, as the Father. So, man, there's so much work to do around this right now.
Yeah.
I think this is good for today. Because we can do this for hours.
We could really do it for hours. And there's so many things that we touched on that I'm like, oh, we need to talk about that. Oh, we need to
reflect. Mm-hmm. And I've been sitting here taking notes on the side. So that helps with, like, when you mentioned that Golden Age program, I got chills. Mm-hmm. And this, and just so the listeners know, when is it that she actually transitioned? Do you remember the date?
I can pull it up. It was 2012. I think it was June. It was definitely in June because she's a Leo. She was born in August. So it was like June something. It was June 2014. Mm-hmm.
2014.
2012. 2012. My other grandma passed in March of 2014. So yeah, it was 2012 in June.
So June of 2012 was almost like flipped to 2021 when you think about it. And this is when all hell broke loose. And we all went into that dawning of the golden age where you see now everything is coming into fluorescent. I mean, she's doing the work. Do you hear what I'm saying? Like it doesn't stop. As above, so below. So you got to think about that in all aspects of things, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you leave this body, you're not just this light being just existing as a beautiful star beaming. You're doing work in the spiritual realm. Your consciousness, everything still goes with you. You just don't get to take the body or this dichotomy of a mind that is a collective. Mm-hmm. Wow.
So interesting, the mystery of it all.
Woo, well, girl, this is amazing. I'm excited about the next classes.
I know. The series.
the series that's coming in.
Right. I don't even know what we would name this one because it was so
Spirit gave it to me.
Oh, really?
We Are Family.
Oh, love it. That's good. Yeah.
We are family. And listen, this is literally to all the listeners too. We are so if you're tuning in, there's a reason you're tuning in. 100%. When you talk about getting back to the one, getting back to source, that means that again, there is no I, there is no me, there is no we. There just is. And so we're getting back into those states of existence as the one. So we're not separate. So when we talk about race and color and all that, those are, my husband was saying it the other day and I loved how he said it, but it was pretty much like that's to create the division. We're just one race, and that's the human race.
Right.
So let's get out of those, I'm a Black woman and this and that. It starts with you. You can still keep communicating in that group session of, Black this, Black that, Black pride, my Black is beautiful. But what it sounds like, as I sit back and I observe, it sounds like hurt people who need validation for something that happened, years ago. And the fact that even if you grew up in a broken home, right? Mm-hmm. Are you going to make that your story? Is that it for you? Like, when do you create the heaven on earth that is being given to you? When do you channel in to the other layers of existence that you have yet to see? When people think about ascending, they think that is some like, um, journey and getting into something. Really, all it is just turning the lights on or switching the stations up to get to the higher channels.
Switching the stations, yeah.
Switch the station up. Change up your scenery. Change up what you listening to, what
Your
you feed
program.
yourself. Your program. You can change. You can channel the program. You do it all the time when you're sitting in front of a television.
Yep.
So if you become the magister of your life, you become the magician. You become the master. You become the ruler. You become the governor of your temple. The temple of what? Solomon, soul of man. So now you let the soul communicate and run the light, not your mind, not your brain. Your brain, I call that the cockroach. You want a cockroach running your house? You gonna let the cockroach run you out your house?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we're gonna leave it there, sis.
I love that.
This has been a great honor, joy, excitement. I'm excited for what Spirit is about to do for everyone in this time, and I'm grateful that we get to use our instrument, our voice, to turn those lights on in everyone, so that they can see that there's more to life than where they're sitting right now.
So good. And I just, since we were talking about family, and that was the title, or the topic, and I just wanted to share or just reiterate to people who may have been listening when we spoke about the elders. If you still have elders in your family, grandmothers, great grandmothers, grandfathers, go be with them, talk to them, ask them questions, like get that history, because when they're gone, we don't have access to that stuff, and it's so important. And we take those things for granted, and I did. And I wish that I could go back in time and capture those moments and get their wishes. Like what would you want us to leave your legacy? How do you want your funeral, cremation, all those things? Get that information. We don't like to talk about death, because it's this thing that, just sounds so taboo, but it fucking happens. Everybody's gonna die. So we need to actually have those conversations. What are your wishes? You know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff, that's important. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But we talked about insurance and getting things in order, not having to do GoFundMe for the family. Like, really getting that stuff together. So sit with the elders, get their wishes, learn your history, and go back until memories of childhood to really just think, if you're struggling with like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? Those clues were left for you when you were young. Just try to tap back into that. Like, that memory will come back to you for sure. And go back. And if you have made any contract with yourself that you were unaware of, like, I don't want to see, I don't want to have children, go back and take that back. That was made aware of to me the other day when I thought about a friend who's having issues with infertility. And I always remember her saying, I don't want kids. And I'm like, damn, we got to be careful with the contracts and the things that we say out of our mouth, because it is so, you know what I mean?
It is
God, mini God, the manifestation of God. Then don't just be so careless with what comes out of your mouth.
Say that.
So, yeah, that's it. Then we can talk about other stuff. Yep, talk about other stuff another time on another episode.
On the next episode. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too.
All right, peace.